Good afternoon, it's Mike, Blackstone Valley Piano here. Today we're going to talk about evaluating a keyboard for restoration. This keyboard came in from a technician to have the natural key tops replaced, which are the white keys, and to have the bushings replaced. The bushings are the two red pieces of cloth inside that wooden mortise. There's a set of bushings here in the balance or the center of the key. And there's a bushing in the front, okay, called the front bushing. So it's my job as a keyboard specialist to give this keyboard a very thorough evaluation. I don't know if the technician did that already. I don't know if the technician has the skills or ability to do that. So we need to do it. And what I like to do is to come up with a list and present it to the client of things that I feel should be replaced and things that have to be replaced. Now is the time to do these things. The keyboard is out of the piano. Other work is being done to the instrument, so we have the time. It's convenient now. Again, it's out of the piano. It's not in the client's living room, okay? So the client wants new tops. We can do that, no problem. But these aren't the original tops. They were replaced already. And basically, when they over-trimmed the plastic, and they actually took some of the wood away on the side of the key. Basically what that did, as you can see, is it opened up the spacing between the keys. The spacing should be about that far apart, okay? Around 40 thousandths of an inch. Well, these are all at least a 1/16 of an inch apart. It's not going to stop the piano from playing, but it looks ugly, okay? So I recommend that we build up the sides of the keys with the same kind of wood, sugar pine, and that will close up the spacing a little bit when we recover them. I'll recommend that. Bushings are already going to get replaced. The sharps are worn out a little bit. They've lost some of their original shape, but that can be restored by carefully planing the keys in all dimensions and then buffing them again. It can make them look brand new. What someone opted to do in this keyboard was to just spray paint them with some god-awful black lacquer or something. Very unprofessional repair or very unprofessional process for this type of keyboard. Okay, this is a very expensive keyboard, very expensive piano, probably around the $70,000 range. So this is just unacceptable for this instrument. The ebony can be restored, and ebony of this generation, this piano is 109 years old. This ebony underneath this spray paint is just beautiful. It'll look like this ebony that we just restored for another client for an organ keyboard. I mean, look at the difference. That's ebony, perfectly flat, perfectly restored. Okay, versus, you know, a spray painted and rubbed sharp with steel wool or sandpaper or something. It's not a professional level repair. It's not a repair adequate for this instrument. So I would recommend that we restore the sharps, get rid of all this god-awful spray paint and everything. I also recommend that we would clean the keys, which we do anyway as part of the restoration process. I would recommend that we clean the key frame. It's filthy. These are stains from drinks and water and beer and stuff, cigarette ashes and everything that get dropped on the piano over the years. Okay? I would recommend that we replace the back check leather because the back checks catch the hammers after they hit the string. And this leather is 109 years old. What happens, it dries out and gets hard, and you'll start to hear the hammer catching in there because it's hard. You'll actually hear a clicking sound. These are the capstans. They lift up the action. I would recommend that they get polished because The higher the polish, the smoother the surface, the less friction. Everything will move very smoothly. Okay? Now, the biggest part and the biggest fault I found with the keyboard is, see that key? See how it's moving back and forth? That's because the balance hole is bad. This is a balance pin. This is a balance hole. What happens over time, after continually playing the keys over and over again, is that these holes elongate and get larger. That allows the key to move backwards and forwards, okay? That will be felt when the piano is played, and it will also work its way through the action by clicking, and you'll feel the slop. So basically it'll be transferred into the action of the piano. So the wooden holes in the bottom of the key, called a balance hole, are elongated and should be replaced. Now, what else should be replaced is the pins. Part of the problem is the pins. The pins have become worn out. Now, as you can see, pins are plated. Okay, it's plated with either chrome or nickel, and you can see this brass underneath. So the brass is exposed, and the brass is very vulnerable and soft. So what's happening is believe it or not, the diameter of this pin where the balance hole rides, okay, the balance hole there, the balance hole is scraping away material on this pin and decreasing the diameter a little bit. So it's contributing to the slop in the keys. See that? I think it's very important to replace these pins, so I will recommend that to the client. Okay? Another thing that should be done is the back rail cloth. This is the cloth that the back of the keys rest on. I see lots of glue here, as if it was replaced in the past, but I see more glue on the key frame than on the felt, because the felt is falling off. So I'm not sure if this is a new repair and a poorly done repair. See, just big huge blobs of glue, but the cloth is not attached. So I would replace that cloth as well. I would also replace these punchings here and here. They're very inexpensive and should be done as part of any restoration. I would also replace these felts here. They're very worn. You see that? They should be about 1/4 of an inch tall. That's only about 1/8 of an inch. They're worn out and they're very hard, like the back checks. So you'll eventually hear, if not already, a clicking sound. Okay, so we want to replace them. Now, considering the cost, this is about a $70,000 piano. If we add up everything that I recommend we fix, it's less than 10% of the cost of rebuilding this piano, because the piano's getting rebuilt. And it's going to be less than 5% of the cost of the sale value of the piano. So if you consider that the keyboard is the major focal point of the piano, it's your interactive point with the piano, and it's the foundation of the action, that 5% of the sale value, or less than 10%, around 10% of the restoration cost, is really a drop in the bucket. This is very important stuff. So I will make my recommendations to the client now. The only things that must be done: the balance holes must be replaced. We can't recover the keys like this. The keys are sloppy, they move everywhere, and that will be felt through the entire piano. I will have to convince the client to do that. If I can't, I won't do the job. I'll have to send it back to him. The things that should be replaced, we already went over: the bushings, the pins, the back rail cloth, the back check leather, the damper lift felt. We should clean the key frame. We should restore the sharps. All of those things would make the restoration of the keyboard proportionate to the restoration of the rest of the piano. So I will contact my client and make those recommendations now.